Today, this is a tree everybody thinks of with bonsai. They see this tree and automatically say, "Oh, that's a bonsai." It's a juniper. Alright, this guy has been left to its own devices for a little while, and it's time to prune it back. I believe I've done a video similar to this before, um, but things change, and it's always nice to see it from a new point of view. So, with this, you don't generally want to treat it like a hedge plant and just kind of cut. Um, a lot of times, what happens is where you cut with these will kind of brown, and so if you just cut um, with no real direction, then a lot of times you end up with browning on the top of your tree. And I have one. I'll show you real quick. And now I'm noticing it needs to be weeded, um, so you can actually see it. The weeds grow fast here in Florida. All right. So if you look, I did hedge trim this one, kind of for the sake of being able to show and just to. But if you look, you can see the browning where the tips were trimmed, and didn't do it too bad here, but you can still see it. But the new growth is coming out, and it would eventually flush out, and it wouldn't be as obvious. But if you can avoid it, you avoid it. So when you're pruning back, just kind of getting in here, um, trying to reduce the height and also maintain taper while reducing the height as well. And you go in and you look for the separations between the branching. And if you really get in there, that's a better example. You can see the branching, and then you could technically come in here and cut that out, and then that leaves room for movement. Now, one thing I did when I initially learned is I thought, like, I wanted it to be a puffy cloud, and if it didn't move and have different pads, that it just didn't really look like a bonsai. And all different heights are nice, and you do like having space between them. Some people turn it into a topiary rather than a bonsai because they want all these little puff balls. And if you have branches that are really growing out of uh, what height you're going for, then it's better to take them off before they become more developed branches. Try and get this where you can see. And also, when you're trying to maintain or correct a taper issue, um, alright, big guy gone. Now I have had some luck rooting these from cuttings, but everybody's different. And for me, I want to be able to see some movement in the tree. And while having a nice topiary is kind of cool, if you can't see the trunk of the tree, you lose a lot of in my opinion, the luster of it, coolness of it. What makes it look like a compact tree rather than a hedge plant. And the more you can open these up, especially um, the more sunlight you can get in, the more they're going to develop and maintain vigor. But they're cool trees, forgiving trees. If you're thinking of doing bonsai for the first time, it would be one of the ones I lean towards. And they're generally speaking, for smaller ones, you can even pick them up at your local nursery fairly inexpensively, especially if you're trying to learn. Um, Sometimes you can overdo it. Been there, done that a lot. Um, I haven't managed to kill one of these yet, though. So, and I'm just thinning this out. Some people like this, and it is nice, but the tree's got to continue to grow, and in a contained environment, this can only last so long. And I'm also opening it up, working on getting more sunlight in, and getting to where you can see more branch and more movement rather than just a cluster flesh of green. Now what I'm doing, and it's not as easy I'm sure to see, is I'm getting all the little, some call them suckers, the little tiny new growth that's growing on structural branches that I don't want. I want to be able to see the movement of the branch, and if I've got all these little clusters of little things like these tend to do, you see here, right here on this branch, I don't want that. I want the new growth, the tiny stuff, to be on the tips and on the branches, branch ends, rather than on the trunk of the tree. It also helps to reduce buildup of that black funky stuff when your trees are staying real wet because it's raining every day. Taking the pom-poms and opening them up. And some people aren't comfortable pruning the trees. They're worried about killing it, for one. True worry. Now this guy here, it's kind of growing straight up. The trees kind of, unless it's wired, continue that movement. So opening that up, we get to see more of the movement of the trunk, which is what I'm after. I want to see definition in the branch structure. I want to know that I've got different branches as I go up the tree. I want to be able to see the branch structure. Now sometimes you'll want to simply clean up a branch and that'll open it up rather than taking the whole branch off. Because this is what happens when it doesn't get sunlight. You lose it. Yeah. So I'm going to continue in here, just removing the branches that are not in desirable locations, structures that are not developing the way I would like them. And we're starting to see the trunk more. Also starting to see I need to clean it, just like the other. I'm not going to make a video for that because I've already made one video today on that. And it would be redundant. This is one you can use a wire brush on. When I'm going through here, I'm thinking future branches, future branches. Are these branches running into other branches? Are these branches going to develop into something I can use? The answer is yes, I'm going to hold on to those branches. The answer is no, I'm going to go ahead and remove those at this time. Because we don't want to unnecessarily take vital nutrients of this tree to develop something that we're not going to use. Unless we're trying to heal a scar or it might be a future branch that we need. And then it's not as big of a deal. Has a pleasant aroma too. To me anyway. Some trees like the sarissas, they have a funky odor. Now these branches will tend to grow into one another, to grow under one another. They'll grow in cracks, crevices, they'll grow back on old wood. So you really have to be conscious of that when you're pruning. And this had a dead wood feature you really couldn't see. We're just opening it up. So we get more sunlight, we can develop more of our branches for future use, and reduce the buildup of the mold because of all the excess rain we're getting right now. And we're getting more of the light in there. Now keep in mind that as the tree grows out, you have to have something to come back to. If you don't leave anything back and prune everything off the tree except what you want, then you're left with no future options for future development of the tree. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes those branches that you leave end up developing into something that makes you really happy you didn't take it off. I'm really seeing some opening of this tree. I really like where this branch is going, and in the future, this might be where I come back, or I might come back to this. So this guy here is kind of in the way. And these guys generally take about 30 minutes to trim up when you do them right. You hedge prune them. It doesn't take long at all. So what we're left with is more open tree. You can see more what's going on, movement and whatnot in the tree. In the future, I will probably pot this tree a little differently. This was how I originally acquired the tree. I've changed the soil out, but aside from that, and restyled it. But aside from that, I haven't repotted it as of yet. And when I do that, I will probably change the style of this tree significantly. Hope it helps. Bye.